folks, how's it going? I wanted to talk about the Manchester attack. 20 dead, a whole bunch wounded, yet another attack. I started at the beginning of this video to look up all the attacks so I could just go through the litany of different terrorist attacks, and there were so many I'm just like, you know what, screw it, that's way too much. Everyone gets the idea. And when these attacks first started rolling in, it was kind of shocking to the nation, and everybody's immediately changing their profile pictures on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever else, and candlelight vigils, and the nation's heart is breaking, even for different countries in France or England or wherever it's happening. Now it's almost like we're being desensitized, as when one of these attacks happens, it's not so upsetting anymore because they're just happening all the time now. So I wanted to just kind of think about, where do we go from here? We have one of these terrorist attacks, everyone's sad, we update our social media, we say, gosh, that's really terrible, hope it doesn't happen to us. And after about a week of mourning, we just kind of go on until the very next one knocks the wind out of us. What is the end for this? What do we as a nation do, and what do we as individuals do? Anyway, I wanted to just kind of process some of this stuff out loud, and I'll let you guys weigh in comments as well. The first thing is, I think, public awareness of exactly how we should handle this. These terrorists believe that Allah will welcome them into heaven immediately as long as they die engaging in the unofficial sixth pillar of Islam, engaging in jihad. That means if you die in jihad, you immediately go to heaven. And so they somehow in their sick, twisted, cowardly brains believe that if they blow themselves up, killing a bunch of innocent civilian women and children, Allah will say, well done. This is absolutely ludicrous, but you got to understand exactly what's going on, what we're up against, and understand that this type of individual has been around for centuries, since the 7th century. You can kind of track this ideology as well, and these terrorists come from that vein. There's no reasoning with them. I've fought these people across the pond. They know one thing, that's force, and diplomacy is not going to keep them in check. This is where I have to add, and yay, there's lots of peaceful Muslims. Absolutely. They're friends. I like them, they like me. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about these terrorists. So I think understanding exactly what we're up against and recognizing they believe they're in a war with us. Us pretending like we're not in a war with them doesn't do any good for us. We need to actually recognize we're in a war and understand what the cost that is for the average citizen and for the nation. You don't wage a war just on one front. These cowards don't want to go toe-to-toe with our military. They're terrorists even in their own countries. When I was across the pond, kicking in doors, taking names, fighting Al-Qaeda and Taliban, these folks are hiding from us. They're trying to ambush us. I got ambushed a couple different times. One was a near ambush. One day I'll tell the story about it. But even so, they didn't want to tangle with us. They're waving in a crowd, and as soon as your vehicles are almost by, or they pop out an AK, pop, 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 and then disappear back in the crowds. They're terrorists even in their own backyards. And now around the nations of the world, they're terrorizing everyone. So what I want is us to have an understanding of what we're up against and what we can actually do, at least in our mental preparedness, our paradigm shift, so that we understand this, because we got a couple factors moving against us. One is the movement of political correctness, tolerance at all cost, lovey-dovey, this, millennial, and I'm a millennial, I'm the oldest of the millennials, but this kind of limp-wristed millennial ideology that if we could just be nice, everyone will be nice back. And it's just garbage. It's just not going to work. You're not going to be able to reason with these people. So understand we're in a war, and you don't fight a war just on one front. They're not going to go toe-to-toe with our military. What we need to do, and of course I'm just a dude, I haven't figured out all the answers. There's smarter guys out there in high stations of the military and intelligence organizations, and maybe they'd look at something like this and be like, you ignorant kid, and I'll be like, oh, fair enough, well, there you go. But from my simple vantage point, it seems like, well, one, we need to wage war in a militaristic fashion, and we are doing so. Yay military, let's amp it up. Let's just hit them, let's have them so busy playing defense, they can't possibly play any offense. I want them terrified to look out their windows, much less mobilize in any different countries. I want the whole world out watching for them, hunting them down like dogs. So one is the military avenue. Secondarily, you wage a war financially as well. Any country that's harboring terrorists must have extreme political and financial pressures on them that if you guys aren't actively hunting down the terrorists within your own borders, we're not going to play ball with you economically. And we can just crush countries economically, especially when different allies are getting on board. We'll just kill them financially and politically, and that's another thing. The other thing is sociological, and this is a little bit trickier, but it's something that you and I can get into, and I love that President Trump today released some real harsh language toward these terrorists. He's not, and how he dealt with them is he's calling them these, what did he say, baby? He said, cowardly losers. That's what he called them. And to, the generation of snowflakes, my generation, the millennials, will recoil at that and like, that's mean. You don't do that. That's so intolerant. That's so mean. And I'm like, no. He's on to something here. Part of the appeal to the terrorist is that they are gaining recognition. They are going out as soldiers. It's a respectable and honorable end to them. And when we put it all over the media of look at the carnage and this was a, fighter for Islam, then it crafts it as if he is a hero of war to the opposition. And you don't, broadcast it like that. Trump did the absolute right thing in saying, no, cowardly loser. Make it unattractive in the world's eyes. I think they're cowards. I do. I think it's cowardly act. They don't want to go toe-to-toe with the military. What they want to do is, capture someone, handcuff them, or detain them. Then this great heroic dude's going to put a face mask on so nobody can tell his identity, and then you chop off his head and put it on YouTube or release it to the media. Real brave of you. Awesome. Oh, you're going to kill a bunch of innocent civilian women and children. Real brave. That's awesome. Anyway, those are just kind of some of my raw ideas so that if we all get on the same board in terms of actively with our speech and with our message, changing public opinion so as politicians don't have to tiptoe as much, and all of a sudden the popular vote says, hey, drop the hammer on these dudes. And they say, hey, the populace wants that? All right, I guess we should drop the hammer on them. And that could be a really good thing. So as we just mourn and grieve the victims that just resulted from this recent Manchester attack, I wanted to also, aside from just breaking your heart, I wanted to make you upset. I wanted to make you angry, and I wanted to change the speech you use and the way you think about these attacks and our necessary opposition, because to win a war like this, you need to wage a war on multiple fronts, and the military aspect is just one of them. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments, so go ahead and like, share, comment, and you go ahead and wade into the discussion, and perhaps we can learn from each other. This is John Lovell, Warrior Poet Society, and that's a weird sign-off. I never say stuff like that. Train hard, train smart. See you guys.